Indeed, I would not be surprised. Nothing on Weibo about it. I did check, including a Lufel, who is probably one of the more likely ones. As I am attempting to keep an eye on the Chinese social media to keep an eye on the players, see if we can get insight. So far, nothing that interesting, though.
Right. Oh, they actually chose a different overlay now for the maps. I think that's basically in cohesion with the other regions, isn't it?
It is, yes. This is the one that we're using a lot in most of the regions now. It is very nice. That means we are starting off with Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Here we go. I couldn't have chosen a better battleground to start things off for this very first day of week 2 for the Chinese HGC. Because Tomb of the Spider Queen, you know, not only is it a good map for my most favorite hero, Nazeebo, it is also a very nice map to watch in my personal opinion. Because, you know, there's a lot of action involved in the early game. Wave clears of the essence. It's really oftentimes a clinch between teams, you know, really trying to deny each other access to the turn-in points. And as such, I think the game is very enjoyable to watch. And look at RPG's record on this very battleground. That is quite impressive.
5-0.
Nice.
That is very impressive. I don't think any team's got that kind of ratio on any map.
And I gotta say, this makes a lot of sense because, Tetra, we've been talking about the very aggressive playstyle and the strong rotations by RPG and also their strong synergy as a team. So maybe that's going to be, once again, the path to victory here, the reason why they do so well on this map.
Quite possibly. I don't know if you're getting slight spikes, but I am doing the same.
Yeah, I also had a couple of lag spikes here, but now it seems to be going a little bit better. Can you check your latency?
I'm still 8.
Okay, okay. So I'm just gonna double check as well.
It's just it's spiking. It's not lag. It's stuttering.
Right.
I'm jumping between 8 and 9.
Good. Okay, so I'm still on 8, so we're all Gucci, all good. Now, Tychus ban coming in here on the side of HOTSLADY. Tychus hasn't really received any changes over the last few balance updates, so this might be a targeted ban because those teams could have, you know, really scrimmed against each other. They might know each other better than we do. So, what do you make of this ban?
The Tychus ban is a little bit out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Still very strong. This might be why, though. They want to try and really punish high health heroes. So having that Malthael coming in first, removing the Tychus, they could be going for the style that we've seen in Korea, in Europe, Korea especially, of the Malthael Cho'Gall comp.
Yeah. Okay, so the Malthael has been chosen, and you brought up a very interesting point. This map, in theory, is not too shabby when it comes to Cho'Gall play. And, you know, taking one of the big anti-tank warriors and banning another one could very much wake the impression of them trying to go for those kinds of shenanigans. But I really like the idea of just banning something since you're first pick, so you get one of the 2 strong assassins in the game right now, Malthael and Genji. And keep in mind, guys, this is a very special moment because for the very first time, we get to see Malthael in China. We saw him a little bit on the weekend in Europe, NA, and Korea, and there he's actually made a pretty good impression, I might want to say.
Yep, he has been pretty good. And this is the... we did mention the Malthael Cho'Gall comp. There was an amazing series of events. Oh, lost camera signal on one of the RPG cameras there, bro.
Also, very useful statistics here, just basically showing that the hero has never been chosen.
Nothing! But basically what ended up happening is, I can't remember who it was against, I think it was Blossom, were losing it to MVP Black, so they picked this Malthael Cho'Gall comp and won the game. So MVP Black just picked it back against them and was like, no, how dare you, and just won the game back to win. Noob. This could be a Cho'Gall comp with actually what they're doing.
So far it could be, yeah.
If they pick a support now, I would not actually be surprised.
If they pick Auriel right now, then it has to be Red Alert on the side of RPG. Okay. I
not
don't think
Cho'Gall if you want to run a supportless comp. So. Alright, so we are just running with the Malthael at least. So this will be our first time seeing him. I'm curious to see how it goes.
So far, what we can say about Malthael and his first appearance on HGC was that his objective damage, especially on Battlefield of Eternity, has been second to none. It's even stronger than a Vala on Hungering Arrow build, even stronger than a Greymane, who used to be the dominant hero in that regard. We have seen Malthael single-handedly racing down an Immortal while the remaining 4 team members were defending their own. So on those objective-based battlegrounds, he can be really, really strong. I don't want to say that Tomb of the Spider Queen is not one of those, but the objective is not really as impactful as a Punisher on Infernal or the Immortal on Battlefield of Eternity. But still, it is nice for him to basically just shred those Wave Weavers like there was no tomorrow.
Indeed, shredding the Web Weavers very helpful. Here's another hero who can shred the Web Weavers, the Greymane, getting removed. Great poke potential would be really good with the high CC composition that we already see from HOTSLADY in the form of the Haka and the Anubarak. Bearing in mind that even though this is very high CC, Guardian of the Ancient Kings was slightly nerfed, still bloody good though.
Right, instead of 75 armor, we now only, quote-unquote, have 50 armor on a stun, rooted, or silenced target. And that is, as Tetra said...
50 armor, only halving the damage, god.
Exactly, how dare you nerf Uther this way?
How will we ever cope?
And it's speaking of Guardian of the Ancient Kings, Tetra, it's quite surprising, to me at least, that HOTSLADY picked two very CC-heavy heroes into an Uther, because what we have seen last week and across all regions basically is that when you have a first pick Uther on one of the two teams, that the other team normally tries to avoid picking a lot of root stuns and silences because you don't really want to proc Guardian of the Ancient Kings too much, right?
Very true. It is that is the theme a lot of the time, so I'm curious to see how they're going to play around that. Here comes the Falstad and the Li Ming, so damage sorted for RPG, unless they want to go for another melee damage dealer like the Zeratul to fill this out.
Yeah.
But I do see what you mean. It is quite interesting. The difference is I don't believe that armor affects the percentage damage coming in from Malthael, so no matter what, he's still going to be doing his damage output.
Yeah, I was going to say Malthael is certainly quite a valuable asset. Also, since most of Uther's healing numbers are very, burst-oriented to really save a target in need, I really like a talent that Malthael brings to the table at level 7. And I'm really wondering if we're going to see it here in China as well. The talent is called Touch of Death. And what it does is it's an activatable talent, and once you proc it, the healing on your targets affected by your passive is going to be reduced quite handsomely by 50%. So denying a big Q from Uther could actually be very vital at focusing a target down.
Potentially, we'll have to see if that's what they do. They could also get even more healing reduction with this Malfurion coming in here, who now has a healing reduction talent in the replacement of the Lens at level 7. So we could see some utilization of that. That seems to be the go-to talent at level 7 nowadays. And here is the Kale Pass. 80% win rate, but only been played in 5 games, sorry.
Which is something I've found really weird, because as we've seen in the past here in China, KT normally performs pretty well. And even in Europe, when Menit played him a lot at the mid-season brawl and even before, he normally did outstandingly well on the KT. So it's really quite the mystery to me why we don't get to see the Blood Elf a little bit more frequently. But I'm really excited to see HOTSLADY dishing him out. I think it's one of his stronger battlegrounds because wave clear is so important. So if you land those good flame strikes, some good living bombs to be spread across the minions, and map objectives, I think you're gonna have a really good time. Especially against Uther, like all that spread out damage is really, really good.
Very true. And also, this kind of limits the options for a second tank from RPG. There we go, bringing out the Zeratul like we did predict earlier. If they hadn't gone for a second tank, they would have had the issue of 1, the percentage damage coming in from Malthael, and 2, burned flesh. However, I would like to make this public service announcement to the viewers of the Kendrick Swish channel. Just because your opponent has a Leoric or a Malthael or a Tychus does not mean you can only go 1 tank.
Exactly.
You can still go 2 tanks. It's still gonna get... Yes, you're going to give the Tychus or the Leoric or the Malthael a bit more value, but you need a tank. And in some cases, you need 2 tanks. You need to protect your backline. Yeah, give the percentage damage, then you've got another tank.
Exactly, that's a very, very good point to make. I think everybody knows that situation in Hero League when, one warrior has been locked in and then goes an Illidan, a Malthael, or a Zeratul, and all of a sudden your team is like, okay, we're done with the front line, but those melee assassins like a Malthael and Illidan, they're not really designed to be a frontliner. They're designed to be a troublemaker in the backline, and as such...
Oh no, I'm arguing playing against those heroes.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, they have a Malthael, that does percentage damage, guess we can only have 1 tank now. No! That's not how it works at all. Just pick something. If you need to protect your backline, pick something else.
Yeah. You might still argue whether, high HP heroes like Diablo or Stitches might be the best choice, because there are a couple of other warriors that kind of have an easier time dealing with the Malthael.
Tyrael, you get the shielding, you have slightly lower health, so you give them a bit less value. You can still go something to protect your backline. and trust them to do the damage. They're not going to do that. People argue like, oh, we have no damage. If you have no damage, it usually means your backline's getting wrecked and you need some more protection for them.
Speaking of counters to the Malthael Techer, what would you say is the golden recipe to deal with the Archangel of Death? We can probably talk about that at the beginning of the game, because we're getting ready, sorry about that, we're getting ready for the first game of the day here between RPG and HOTSLADY. Everybody give it up for those two teams. Alright, production being a little bit faster than we could handle, so let's get to the introduction here. On the left-hand side, on Tomb of the Spider Queen, rocking the blue colors, we have Chicken for RPG. On the Zeratul, we have Wang. On the Stitches, Sa is going to be healing people with Uther, Infinity on Falstad, and last but not least, we have Loktar on the Li Ming.
And on the right, in the red, it is HOTSLADY with Y on Kael'thas, Pobby on Malfurion, Lias on Malthael, the first one, Meng on Dahaka, and Carlo playing the Anubarak.
Alright, Malthael for the very first time made an appearance, or is making an appearance here in the Chinese HGC, and we talked plenty about how China and Eastar in particular have had a really strong impact on the double support meta in the global stage, showing the mid-season brawl, but guess what? Neither HOTSLADY nor RPG is really relying on those double support comms here. They're going classic, standard, single healer Malfurion despite his rework, and single healer Uther.
Indeed. So, let's have a look. We mentioned before, as the teams begin their slow rotations, actually going to be a two-man bot lane. Looks like we're going to see RPG actually a lane split as opposed to a rotation, whereas HOTSLADY goes for the more traditional four-man rotation with one hero bot. The one hero bot is Dahaka, which is fine, should be able to clear that fairly easily. So, we talked about the Malthael. What are the counters against Malthael? The starters don't group up. Don't just run
very important
his face, because he heals up so much if you do that. He is almost impossible to kill if you all group up on him. Ranged heroes poking him down can be very effective at dealing with him, for starters. Isolating him from his team, also really good. Any extra healing he can get is a good chance of stopping him dying.
Yeah, very important. Like you mentioned, the positioning and how important it is. I definitely agree. Don't clump up. Don't give him all of that AoE value, especially after level 10, where his ulti is basically going to affect everyone in his vicinity. And also, I think that, you know, a lot of crowd control, silences in particular, can be extremely valuable against the Malthael, because what many people seem to forget is when he's stunned or silenced, he cannot use his Q in order to self-heal himself. So, heroes like Malfurion, heroes like Sylvanas with their respective silence abilities, or even a variant who can taunt him for a little while, are actually very, very good against Malthael.
Indeed they are. Malthael actually lacking a little bit of escape, unless someone is basically standing in between him and where he wants to escape to, in which case he could do his behind teleport via his initial poke and do it that way. He did also take at level 1 Fear the Reaper, allowing him to pass through other units, so basically making him incredibly hard to body block, so giving himself as many chances as possible to escape. Yeah,
also increases his movement speed for a very short period of time. So, as I said, that's a really... It's both, actually. It's like a nice escape tool if he got a little bit too reckless, but it's also a very nice engaging tool when he activates his level 10 to really affect as many enemy heroes as possible. Now, I really like what RPG is doing here, by the way, in terms of drafting and in terms of arranging their team composition. I can really see the value of Zeratul. Once a Malthael goes in with his Shroud to really affect as many enemy heroes as possible, he's just going to drop a VP behind him and potentially isolating a Malthael and then exposing and really just getting rid of him as quickly as possible. So let's see if Chicken can execute that battle plan. And if there's one person I would say who can do that, it is definitely Chicken on his Zeratul. His go-to hero, his trademark melee assassin.
Agreed. We will see if he is able to, though. Other talents at the beginning of this game, Kael'thas actually going for that cooldown reduction once again on his level 4. This is the second time we've seen it. And when you're against a hero like Zeratul or like Genji, that you need to consistently lock down if they get into your backline and do it quickly, and having that stun off cooldown as much as possible is a huge deal. So taking that talent, really cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we also see the Arcane Barrier for the KT, so he has a little bit more protection against all the damage coming in. Now, Stitches, by the way, as you said, really, really cool warrior, and especially tanky after using Dampen Magic here against all that ability damage. Because let's face it, the most damage that comes out from those heroes on the side of HOTSLADY is going to be magic-based. They don't have one of those strong auto attackers like Zul'jin or the Vala. So, in terms of, like, talents, China likes to be a little bit extraordinary and unique sometimes, but I really, really like all the choices they made, especially also the Moonfire on level 1 here. The Moonburn for Malfurion gives him exceptional wave clear, and if there's one map where you want to rely on strong wave clear and strong rotations as a result, it is this one.
Have we talked about the fact that Zeratul is full cleave build yet?
Not really. It's a good point, though.
What do you think about it?
Well, Chicken just got a kill, so it seems to be pretty good. Yeah. No, but in all seriousness, I think the AoE damage is going to be very useful, because look at how many melees HOTSLADY also brings to the table, right? So, the Malthael, the Anubarak, the Dehaka, they're probably going to be very clump throughout those fights, and even Malfurion sometimes is in their vicinity if he wants to heal them, or if he wants to land a Twilight Dream, so I don't actually hate it so far.
Alright, we will see how well it does work out for them. We also have Falstad going for a full Q build with his Gathering Storm and the Boomerang here. He's going to get himself some good poke damage overall. Malfurion with that healing reduction route now, already landing onto Stitches, who has a living bomb attached to him, but they're still able to retreat behind the gate. But the Web Weaver pushing down onto it, it's low on health, it's already managed to take down one tower and very nearly a second.
Yeah, and let's talk about the level 4 talent coming in here from Malfurion as well. He went for the Treant, for, you know, his little companion that is getting pretty strong as time goes by, but unfortunately is not very tanky. So let's see how much additional DPS that little broccoli can dish out. Well, so far he's been doing a pretty good job, because Li Ming ends up falling, though. Li is in trouble. Is he going to make it? It looks like so.
In fact, he goes back in onto Chicken with that teleport, trying to get some extra damage on, but was not able to get the finishing shot. That Wraith Strike, very good at getting the, re-engaging in situations like that if your enemy tries to retreat.
Alright, so in terms of kills, it's fairly even, 1-1. HOTSLADY did get their first turn in already. Not really a whole lot of value could be achieved, though, because as you said, or as you saw, guys, most of the towers are still looking pretty healthy. Top lane hasn't really been touched, and despite, you know, falling a little bit behind in terms of map objective progress, RPG is doing an excellent job at staying even on the experience here. Now, Locktar in trouble against the wall. Well, that wouldn't have worked, Wang, but nice try, though. A for effort.
Yep, good effort. I think the ball was just about to die. I think he was just trying to time it, but he hadn't mistimed it. Either way, we still saw Li Ming able to escape. By the way, it is Cold Hand coming in for Malthael at level 7. Not going to go with the Touch of Death. So he's going for the extra... slow every time he uses Soul Rip, as opposed to the reduced healing that we were talking about at the start of the game.
And of course, you know, the slow makes a lot of sense too when you have heroes like Anubarak and KT in your team that are very dependent on landing skill shots. I can really see the great value coming in from Cold Hand, and of course maybe the bombs, maybe a Phoenix, maybe a Flame Strike. It's a little bit like, you know, an Earthquake, like a mini Earthquake if you land it on all nearby opponents. Of course, not nearly as effective, but it's a nice to have when you have a KT in your team.
Slight misplay, I personally believe, there by Li Ming, using her Disintegrate as a poke and scouting tool before HOTSLADY hit level 10, even though they were just about to. Got George there, so Carla was able to escape. But using that Disintegrate that early means that even Noob had hit that level 10 and got straight in, she would not have had that Disintegrate to burn down the cocoon.
That's a very good point. You really want to be very, very careful when you play against a noob as a Li Ming, because your Disintegrate might be that panic button to really cut someone out of that cocoon and not lose that team member respectively. Now we see the Tormented Souls here on the side of Malthael. No big surprise here. Hook might have gone down and KT has fallen.
Yeah, the Hook Gorge combo coming in for Stitches, isolating down KT. If he'd gone Convection, he would be boned, but he didn't. Because smart lad, he does not want to get himself in that situation where he gets punished since he is against a Stitches and a Zeratul. No way he would stack easily.
That's basically exactly how you want to use the Disintegrate here. You start very nicely to free the Zeratul. There goes another hook though on Lee as he pops the ulti immediately. The Tormented Souls goes live.
He's going in. Justice pushes him into many enemy heroes, but he's now completely surrounded and gets killed off. Nice Gust there by Falstad, and nice follow-up by the rest of the team. Flame Strike though,
1 for 1.
big. She gets absolutely destroyed. She does not have that force armor, so no way to resist all that damage. So 1-for-1 trade there. Falstead flying down to try and get a turn in at the bottom area, and looks like he will manage it while his team gets the denial. Nicely done.
Yeah, the denial was good, and the Web Weavers have been unlocked for RPG. There goes another kill, though, against Uther, and losing a hero when you're about to push with Web Weavers, especially your one support, is always a little bit painful because it takes away so much momentum from your potential push against the enemy buildings here.
Uther very patient though,
yeah.
Actually let himself die. We're so early in the game at this point that his death time isn't that high, whereas if he'd burned his Divine Shield, yeah, he would have escaped. It would have meant that his team could do absolutely no pushing. If his team's able to delay and zone for the Web Weavers for just a little while, then Uther can return, and they will still have the Divine Shield for the situation right now. Sid is trying to get away. He's got the Malfurion, but the Cocoon prevents the follow-up, and Malfurion's able to escape.
Yeah, very nice disengage here on the side of HOTSLADY, but RPG, they're not letting go, and they get him anyway. One kill and the immediate cooldown we said on Li Ming.
Just missing the follow-up stun by Uther there. Nubrak able to tunnel out Zeratul, though. The poke damage, good old-fashioned teleport in, drop a cleave, teleport out style.
Yeah.
Very much like it. He just got for the stealth shield, so that when he teleports in, he has a little bit of extra protection as opposed to relying on that auto-attack health regen that is more useful when you're going for that auto-attack burst that we see with the combo slash.
I gotta say that I'm really impressed with the play by Infinity on the Falstead so far. His gusts have actually been on point, isolating Malthael earlier, really providing his team with a lot of, momentum to keep up a numbers advantage and then also allowing them to push. And also, he seems to be all over the map. He was basically, immediately flying to a different lane, collecting a couple more gems. He now paid all of his gems, which I think were 21 or 20. So, he's really playing the map very, very well. And another golden hook by Wang. And look at the beautiful isolating synergy.
He got destroyed. Nicely done. He took backdraft. Oh, hang on. Nice VP. Kazas did take backdraft. It's not helping him for this, though. Uther in position to drop the stun onto Malthael. They try to focus him down. Falls from the other side. But that Shroud getting so much healing, able to absorb so many souls. And it's the huge turnaround. That's why you don't group up versus Malthael. You give them so much sustain and healing.
Exactly, and I'm not sure if the Disintegrate was available, or I'm not sure if Li Ming was actually in the Cocoon. I think she was the one caught in the Cocoon, wasn't she?
I think so.
Because we didn't see a Disintegrate to go down and cut it.
I don't know if it even would have helped, because he did have Shroud of Wisdom activated as well. So Malthael, immensely difficult to burst down at this point.
Absolutely, and that is exactly what we talked about earlier. Don't clump up, and actually, despite the fact it being a great VP by Chicken, what oftentimes happens is you actually clump up a lot because you all want to be close to the targets that are coming out of the P, right? So you all want to unleash your burst damage onto those targets. And that was exactly where Malthael and the Twilight Dream also, which hit really beautifully, were like, okay, guys, we're going to turn this around with our strong AoE combo. And now hold a thought here. Oh, that was a nice counter.
Done. Very nicely done. Using the Cocoon, remember when Stitches enter Stasis or Cocoon, he immediately spits out anyone in his Gorge. So now, not only have they burned Disintegrate to get him out of the Cocoon, they have to burn Divine Shield to keep him alive as the turnaround came from HOTSLADY.
Yeah, Anubarak is a pretty powerful beetle. There's a lot he can do, but there's only so much space in one Cocoon that he can arrange. So there's definitely not enough space for two people at the same time. So as you said, immediately the counter to the Gorge causes the trap target to be released. So very, very nicely done here. And once again, it makes sure that HOTSLADY continues to ride the wave of momentum here. The Web Weavers are pushing. They're dead even in XP, actually. In terms of structures, both teams are quite even as well, with a slight tendency towards RPG, since they were the ones who caught a couple of more fours overall. But hey, HOTSLADY, they're trying to even the odds here, pushing top as 5 even. Wait,
Malthael, level 60, going for Memento Mori, getting that 80% increased damage on Reaper's Mark if he affects more than 4 seconds, which could be exceedingly effective. As
they're using a lot.
Activated, and yeah, they are using a lot to burn this down. But Anubrak is zoning and delaying. They may die for this, but they will get the boss.
Ooh, they got the boss immediately. The panic VP to isolate Anub.
Anub's alive, moving back to his team. They're going to be able to fight in a 5v5, but they're not going to. They actually are able to move back to their own side. RPG not willing to take that risk, even with the fishing hook they have.
Yeah, you saw that tiny little beetle intercepting the Vorpal Blade, the Vorpal Spike here by Zeratul, so he couldn't really jump after the Anubarak.
He didn't have that talent anyway.
Yeah, he didn't have it anyway, so I'm so used to seeing the good old-fashioned Vorpal Blade build that I... But yeah, really, really cool move here by HOTSLADY. Anubarak surviving, themselves getting the bosses here, and they now should be able to also defend very well against this.
Oh my god.
What was that divine?
I don't know. I think he thought he'd be cocooned. Instead, the cocoon comes a bit later.
Whoa,
Isolation used on Lee Ming, but she's able to move back. Stitches completely isolated. No divine shield for him this time. Here comes the burst, and Stitches will fall.
Oh, I don't understand what happened there for RPG. I'm not really sure what their communication was like, because true, I get the idea. You want to maybe make Stitches untouchable for a short period of time so the Gorge gets maximum value, but even then, would you be willing to trade a long cooldown like the Divine Shield just to make sure to get a potential?
So here's my okay, hang on, Anubarak going in here. Uther, nice stun follow-up. Zeratul shall fall, but he may have delayed enough for his allies to get out as Uther continues to retreat. The stuns consistent coming in from Anubarak as the allies beginning to catch up. Locktar dodging the gravity lapse though and continuing to poke down Carlo, and that will be enough. But here's the logic. You hook in, you get the Gorge. Divine Shield gives movement speed. You drop that, Stitches can no longer be cocooned. You can get out of there. The fact is, though, they weren't able to get the Gorge off, so instead they just burned the Divine Shield for basically nothing. Yeah,
for nothing indeed, and that really showed why RPG was losing the team fight so heavily like they did. Lost a couple of members, and HOTSLADY once again in the driver's seat. They're definitely the team that sets the tone here. Something I also wanted to mention, by the way, KT did go for Backdraft at level 13. He did go for Pyromaniac, which is normally the go-to we see because of that very, very useful cooldown reduction. So we have even more slows available. It really seems like HOTSLADY is all about those slows to really slow down the Stitches potentially after gorging someone. So now that you know, people saw the Gorge and people saw how good Stitches can be, and when it comes to isolating people, the more slows you take to slow him down after gorging, it makes a lot of sense, actually.
Indeed, you also have that extra damage coming in from the Acid-drenched mandibles coming in from Anubarak, so it all synergizes a little bit together. And also, of course, the slows allowing Kael'thas to hit some lovely burned flesh flame strikes. It's always nice to see. But with both teams currently on their way towards level 20, HOTSLADY are a full level ahead though, so they are going to get there first as long as they can continue soaking minions. However, they've pushed up the lanes a little bit. They're giving RPG the chance to roam out of their base, only a little bit, but enough for them to soak without being in too much danger.
Yeah, and Tetra, if you had to basically tell us your first verdict of Chinese Malthaels, or the performance of Malthael in the Chinese HGC, would you say that he, like Leah's in this case, was very effective, very good, or would you say that his impact is quite, you know, normal, quite standard?
I'd say it's relatively decent. I'd say he's balanced enough. Hasn't done anything that I would consider super broken yet. The one time he's done something really good was because of a punishable move coming in from RPG by grouping up on him together. Other than that, he's been fairly reasonable from what I have seen. We will see, however, once he gets to level 20, if he goes for that extra armor, see if he's either just a spooky Kerrigan or whether he is a super badass Angel of Death.
Right, speaking of good action going on here in the bottom, Infinity is no more because the combined efforts of Carlo and Meng was basically enough to make sure that the Birdman is going to fall, and that is super crucial. Now, not only is RPG one member down, and there's a couple of seconds until he comes back, actually death timers at level 19 are very, very significant, but also they don't have the most important disengage tool in their roster right now. Now, okay, we see a Gorge coming down.
His tunnel. If they can continuously lock him down, then easy kill. Even with the burrow, the double burrow attempt, but not even close to getting to the gate. The wall wasn't taken down yet either, and that is a noob taken out.
Very nice hook here on the side of Wang, actually balancing the odds, evening the odds, and it's now a 4 versus 4. And as I said, the rewind was good. Unfortunately, the range and the length of the burrow charge was not long enough.
He didn't even attempt to reach the wall. He basically attempted to get the double shield to buy himself time, but 1v3, even he can't deal with that.
We can't really blame Carlo too much for it, though, because keep in mind that during the burrow charge, you're no longer invulnerable, and because you can still take damage. He basically had to smash those buttons very, very quickly, and I think there was not a lot he could have done. Even with perfect execution, he probably would have still died because he was still slowed from the keeps. So, nice effort, and the push was actually very well defended by RPG as a result, because of that great hook. Now, Uther is still debating about which level 20 talent he should go for.
Epic Mount, as we just saw there, Falstad allowing him to rotate. And speaking of dying, as we were earlier, Malthael says no to it. No one can stop death.
Nice.
Taking that activated respawn, increasing the next respawn by 25%.
Look at Uther's level 20. We now have the upgraded heroic ability, the upgraded divine shield, so it has a lower cooldown.
They have to use it right now at this point because it's a configuration of 2 seconds, which could be exceptional.
Oh, the stun was missed!
The stun misses, but the roots still land. Divine shields drop. Stitches. No, it's not even divine shield drop, so they still have that available. A noob coming in onto Falstad, buying them some time. But we're seeing huge aggression from HOTSLADY. There's the gorge onto Malthael. That's going to burn a lot of that duration on this heroic, and he's focused down beautifully.
The immediate cooldown reset, though. Yeah, Malthael came back. He uses level 20 talent. Now, that is going to increase his future deaths a little bit more. But, hey, HOTSLADY, they're like, okay, we're not done fighting yet. We're going to come back in full strength, especially since we want to deny you guys the turn-in, which they weren't successful in. So now you could argue that the level 20 was actually a little bit wasted. Oh, this is such a cool game. Such a cool team fight, the previous one was. I really gotta highlight the reaction timer here and the patience by RPG as well, not using the Divine Shield because they knew KT's stun had missed, so Uther was aware of the fact that KT could not finish Stitches, and Stitches remained alive for now. Really, really well done.
They're also doing a great job saving the gorge, actually. They hooked in, baited the cocoon, and then they could use Gorge advantage. But sorry, Hook coming in onto Dahaka, focused down the double stuns, thanks to that benediction, and suddenly Lee Mig, what are you doing there? Out of position, but is able to retreat as they turn around onto a noob who gets a great knock-up, and that may give him what he needs to escape. In fact, it does. Beautiful 4-man knock-up there.
Yeah, also, Pommy with the golden lightning reflexes here. The play of the match here so far, because that hook could have actually spelled disaster for HOTSLADY, losing their support in a dire situation like that where the web viewers are knocking at the front door in the first place could have been disastrous. So great reactions here coming in from Pommy and Carlo as well. Unfortunately, he gets hooked again. Good. Okay.
Carlo, burrowing out, getting that shield as quick as possible. Able to pull himself out to freedom here. Both these teams just playing for picks right now. HOTSLADY looking for that big team fight, whereas RPG, they're looking for that one perfect Stitches hook.
Once again, no keep could be destroyed here on the side of RPG. They land. Almost landed another hook on Carlo. His beetle butt was not large enough this time to get hooked. But I gotta say, I agree with you. Like, both teams are going for picks here with the cocoon, with the hook, and the gorge. But both teams also showing formidable counterplays to those respective strategies. The rewind by Carlo has saved his life numerous times right now. KT now the one's getting hooked and getting gorged, but a nice cocoon saves the day.
With the cocoon down, they're not using Disintegrate to burn it down. They're just going to try and trust with the Divine Shield, which they do. It's a big heroic to burn. Falstad getting pulled in. No Divine Shield to save him. He gets killed off. A noob still so much health in the backline.
No redemption.
Malthael is going to finish off Uther, who does not have the revive. He's not going to be back this time.
I still don't agree with those early premature Divine Shields and Stitches. I mean, he's a tanky warrior. He even went Dampen Magic and Hardened Shield at level 20. Do you really need to use the Divine Shield on him? If they had saved it for the fall stand, they could have maybe even continued to fight there, because then the team fight would have been an entirely different one.
I think they should have used Disintegrate ASAP, got Stitches out of there after the Gust was dropped. They dropped Gust and then waited and didn't really get anything from it. Either way, though, boss taken by HOTSLADY. Their second one of the game, I believe. So that's going to begin pressuring the top lane, whereas RPG, they put some pressure onto bot lane, forced Dahaka to come down, and now they are being back to prepare to defend.
Yeah, and keep in mind that Dahaka's cooldown on the Brush Stalker was actually increased by 10 seconds with the latest balance update. So, I'm not sure if he used it to get there or if he just teleported back. Oh, that would have been a nice one for sure.
Completely blind hook, was not able to find the target there. So now is just going to begin slamming to try and clear out this boss. But the boss will get the keep. It is too tough at the moment. And with all this support, but Dahaka can still tunnel in as well. That keep is definitely forfeit. But now they are able to clear out the boss. Hook once again not landed. Zeratul, a little bit of harassment, not too much. A little bit of tick damage, as you can see.
Looked a little bit fancy, you know, but Meng, in the meantime, he also paid a lot of gems. And as you can see, there's more than enough gems available to get another wave weaver turn. And with top lane already being destroyed and naked, this could be a very dangerous place for RPG to be in. Now, the hook doesn't connect. Wang has landed a couple of good ones in the game so far. Oh, Li Ming, no disintegrate. Where is it? Oh, cannot be used.
They're waiting for it. They're waiting for it. They clear it with the missiles instead. Divine Shield self-used by Upa there, but that's a big cooldown to burn.
Why would they trade the Divine Shield cooldown instead of using disintegrate there?
I think because there were still so many enemy heroes around, they didn't want to take them risk. It was the safe move. A noob, Gus to keep him locked down. Is it enough? No, the Storm Shield coming in from Malfurion keeps him alive.
Strong value by the Storm Shield. That was literally the tool that saved a noob and maintains them one of their frontliners. The heals from Malfurion, the regrowth is now doing its work here as well, but they're very patient. HOTSLADY knows and realizes that one false move here and the game could still turn around. They're being very patient now. They don't want to overstep their welcome here. And why? Careful, buddy. You don't want to get hooked. There we go. Nice dodge. And that's exactly what they need to do. They need to play cautiously, at the same time, you know, ever so gently apply a little bit of pressure, because the buildings on the side of RPG are very much damaged already.
Tommy's Ice Block is burned, though. It was used, wasn't needed to be used there. He was just going for the extra safe move, not wanting to get picked off. With 2 keeps now down, RPG are very much on the back foot. They are almost solely reliant on a Stitches hook, which they find. There's the Gorge, pulling all the way back into that keep range so that they get the movement speed slow onto him. Gus to isolate, and there is the kill. Zeratul looking for more, finds Malphael. There's the one-man VP. They're going to try and focus him down, but it's going to be a 4v5.
The Zoning Phoenix come out, but Lee is here. He's with his back against the wall. He tries to get as much damage done as possible, but the Disintegrate takes him out, and it was a... Oh, he's back. Never mind.
He did have the revive. He was able to stay alive long enough to burn out that cooldown, and this is how you're supposed to play this. You just make it so that if you are picked off, you get a free revive.
Yeah.
But preferably you don't want to die at all. It is just a small get-out-of-jail-free card for you.
Exactly, and keep in mind that the cooldown for this talent is actually pretty significant. I'm sure it's like 120 seconds,
It's 25% on top of your reset.
180, there we go. That's the current cooldown.
Seconds, yeah.
Here we go. So 3 minutes, guys, without Malthael having that out-of-jail card, as Tetra put it, and that's a pretty long time, and another turn-in comes here, this time on the side of RPG, but their lanes are so much pushed in that it's not really like an aggressive tool, it's more like relieve all of our lane tools, so we can actually move out the map a little bit more and look for another team fight. Because let's face it, RPG at this point, the only way they can still win the game is by looking for a team fight, getting a nice pick with a Stitches hook, another nice isolation combo. They cannot play a macro game anymore.
Yeah, look at HOTSLADY. There's no reason at all for them to be outside of their base at this point. They will get hooked, they will get trapped. So RPG either have to rely on these web weavers to help clear out the lanes and just get XP, give themselves as much of a level as possible, or they can push up. And if they push up, they're not in a position that they can actually try and isolate someone. It's always on HOTSLADY's side of the map that RPG are getting picked off. So perfect decision making by HOTSLADY just by playing safe, just doing nothing. And this is something that so few people actually know how to do, but there's a good hook. They get the isolation here, it is onto Pommy, but Anubrak trying to delay it out. Can they finish off Pommy? The Ice Block is used. Cocoon is on Li Ming. Falset coming in from the other side. Good VP, that delays a bit. Falset rolling away from Malphael. The Malphael's not done. There's the Gust to isolate him again. Falset just poking him down. Lias is getting burned down, and he is finished off. And guess what? No cooldown. Full 80-second death timer, and now it is Dahaka who's in trouble, but he is able to escape with the movement speed.
And look at his death timer, 70 seconds. That's of course because he used his level 20 talent before. It increases the death timer of following deaths a little bit, and you can really question, like HOTSLADY, like Lias in particular, he was tunnel visioning on the fall side. He even used his Tormented Souls just to get a one person basically, and that is normally not how you want to do it. You want to use it on the entire enemy team when they're clumped up to get full team fight value. And now with 45 seconds without Malthael, there's nothing they can do to really contest this boss. Not when there's a Gust available in 10 seconds, not when there's a Gorge available very soon, but they're still going in. They have to.
They do. That does interrupt the boss, though. Boss is leashed, so that's gone. Hook finds a minion, gives them a globe. I guess that's nice. But they are still back to the clearing. They're trying on the boss once again. They still have 23 seconds before Malphael is alive. That's a huge amount of time. But this composition from HOTSLADY is still scary, even in a 4v5 scenario. A noob just walking in right now. They have to move out because Zeratul tanked the boss a little bit and took too much damage. Dahaka from behind gets the drag onto Stitch, trying to focus him down. The cocoon is already used onto Li Ming, preventing any of that burst damage. There's the Gust to disengage, and Wang pulling back. But once again, the boss is prevented, but Malthael has returned.
Great success for HOTSLADY here. They basically achieved what they wanted to. They wanted to prevent the boss from being captured by RPG. They didn't lose anyone else in the process, so really, really great defense here by HOTSLADY. Also, their keeps are still alive in top and bottom, so it's still a 2-1 advantage in terms of catapults on the map for HOTSLADY. So they can play the game a little bit more patiently, a little bit more carefully than their opponents, who are much more in the driver's seat. You can see Wang, he's constantly trying to posture up and land that golden hook that might actually carry his team to victory. But even with a 4 versus 5 advantage in terms of RPG, or in favor of RPG, they weren't able to do the boss. So now they're trying to get as many gems as possible. None of the teams is even close, though, to unlock another wave of web weavers. This is a very, almost a checkmate, or a stalemate, excuse me.
It really is, but this is a whole point for HOTSLADY. They were so far ahead, but they could have thrown the game in so many ways. Yes, RPG are getting back into this, but that's only because they have this hook potential, which is one why I always push for, if you think you might get behind at any point, take fishing hooks. It gives you a better chance.
Oh, Infinity.
Away, false stat, epic mount, you got it available. Doesn't need it. Nicely done, hiding from vision. But HOTSLADY have done so many things to prevent themselves from being killed off here. They're going to try and get the Enumerak, and they do. The Phoenix is dropped, but it does not get any value here. Now Falsa trying to position himself to the other side. Nice dodge by Zeratul from wide. There's the VP. Gust used unnecessarily, I believe. Trying to focus down Kale, and he is destroyed. And this comeback potential, Malthael getting so much value, though. Look at all that damage he's done.
He caught one!
No, it's Malfurion. He's trying to pull back. He's getting disintegrated, drop the ice block, Twilight Dream, but there's nothing else there. It is Dahaka and Malthael. Malthael trying to juke here, and he actually does. But now he needs to be back as quick as possible. Dahaka going to try and put some pressure onto top lane to try and force a port back, while Malthael solo delays. Dahaka needs to return or they will lose this.
And down goes Malthael, and that might have been the nail in the coffin. The laser show has started. The core is about to fall for HOTSLADY, and RPG with a beautiful maneuver. Once again, a great isolation gust and a strong gorge to really initiate the whole thing. They take the victory, being down so many keeps and being behind for such a long period of time. Great play. I gotta say, my personal MVP of the game must be Wang on the Stitches. His isolations, his gorge, his hooks, they were always on point, and they really caused a lot of headaches for their opponents, for HOTSLADY, who couldn't, unfortunately, make it all the way until the end.